Hello and welcome to Live from David's House, a date with excellence. And our date today, as it were, is my very good friend Steve McDermott, European Motivational Speaker of the Year, was it 3 times out of the last, 5 or 6 years?
Something like that, yeah.
So, welcome Steve, great to have you here at my house. And you know, what the idea of Life from David's House, a Date with Excellence, as you know, is to be able to extract from a true world-class model of excellence how they do what they do, what makes them tick, what motivates them, what drives them, what are their beliefs, their strategies, and all of those kind of things. So, Steve, just tell us a little bit about your history, how you come to be here, but being European Motivational Speaker of the Year.
On your sofa.
On my sofa, yeah.
I get asked a lot, really, and I'd like to say I had this vision from being a little boy to be a professional speaker. But because hindsight's a good thing, I do know that on most of my school reports it said what Steve needs to realise is he won't get very far in life if he keeps talking in class. There might be a clue right back there, and that's when being about maybe 7. And I also know as a little boy, 3 of my aunties after the Second World War married American GIs and went to America. So when I was a little boy in the 60s, American uncles used to come over with these tape recorders that we'd never seen before, to tape messages to take back to the family back in the States. And all the aunties and so I'm not going on that thing, because you know when you hear your voice for the first time it sounds weird.
Don't speak for a week.
Yeah. So my uncles had to resort to sort of secretly recording them at the table.
Right.
Everyone. Right. Apart from me.
Right.
In fact, I've just moved house not so long ago, and in the loft I found some old cassettes of me telling gags when I'm about 9.
Oh wow.
So I suppose one answer will be started then. But in terms of the career, I went from working in advertising, which calls for a bit of this, as you can imagine, because you win work by pitching. So classic kind of beauty parade, we'll see you at 10 and you pitch. So you've got, it's not just having the idea, you've got to sell the idea. So I did that for many years and then I discovered this thing called self-development.
Right.
And got into all the classics. I started went on the Dale Carnegie course, how to win friends and influence people and all that. Yeah. And Stephen Covey did all things, Tony Robbins, all that. Started to apply the ideas, although some of them were quite American. That was into my Yorkshire thing. And funny enough, the words started teaching them to my team, because I wouldn't send them all my team. I was a creative director by then in an ad agency. I wouldn't send all my team on them, so I became a trainer by default, really. So I started as a trainer. Right. And then, to cut a very long story short, but more of this might come up later, a good friend of mine started his own training company, and I've been helping out at Carnegie. They have a great model where they won't pay you, but you can be a graduate assistant. Right. So you get to do the course, which is good, actually. I would recommend it because you get to do the course again, but from the back of the room.
It's like an apprenticeship program.
Yeah, and you have to be a role model.
Right.
So actually I've got some of my fundamental skills as a speaker, and I realise again with the value of hindsight, on things like the Dale Carnegie course as an assistant, because for example, they'd say, right, we've got 40 delegates, and your task this week, Steve, should you choose to accept it, you have no choice because you just volunteer, is to remember everybody's names. Right. And you've got the first half of the evening, so you've got like an hour where they've got the name badges on. Then we'll have a coffee, and then we'll come out and say, now, who believes they've got perfect recall? Well, Steve's going to prove to you that you have, right? I'll take name badges off and I'll tell you your first and second names. Right? So obviously you get that belief. So I was learning these skills while still working in advertising. Anyway, this friend of mine started his own training company and said, will you come and help me out? Because it wasn't a franchise, because I'm a creative guy, that was my background, and he said the great thing is we can write our own stuff, because with the franchise at Carnegie otherwise you've got to do a page 9, and whether it's in Mexico or Middlesbrough, it's got to be just so, well, it's not great, so I can do it in my own style. So I think that's where you could really be authentic, because I think when you're delivering other people's material, you've always got that, whether it feels a bit American in this environment or whatever, right? But I guess the massive, I know, the massive light bulb moment was when it got to the point where I've designed the course, I'm delivering it, and it's a hobby. Right. So every Wednesday night I'm going and doing, there's a range of topics from time management to presentation skills, all the sort of classic training, sort of soft skills stuff. And it becomes as well, because people go, oh, you haven't really going doing that training thing then. Right. But the light bulb moment was, so the guy I was working with, he got to the point where he'd come to the last session to sign the certificates and get the photograph taken. And we're in the bar afterwards, and he said to me, you know, Steve, I've been thinking. And I said, oh, have you? He said, I think you should come and work for me full time. And I remember thinking at the time, that's like if your hobby was golf, have you thought about playing golf for a living?
Right.
And I didn't have to think about it. I said, because I'm a creative director and ad agency, I'm serious money, I've got all the perks, big car, healthcare, all that. Big kids at the time, 4 and a big mortgage. A business plan and all that and stuff. I didn't start it that way, because what happened was that was incubated, and you'll know about the power of coaching right? And I was driving to the agency perhaps a month later.
One go.
Yeah. Because I pulled the car over. This is before iPhones and all that. I actually used the back of an envelope.
Right.
And captured it. Said this was like Tuesday morning, and I was really excited. One day I'm leaving, and he said, "Which of my rivals are you going to?" I went, "No, I'm starting this brand new company." And it's going to be a training company. Okay. And I'm going to train people in what I now realise I've been training my team in for the last 2 years. But can I just, you know, I've got agencies. So I wanted to be my first client.
Oh, nice.
Because I'm thinking, how the hell do I pay the mortgage, right?
Yeah.
And he went, sounds good. And because I'd learnt loads of cool stuff, I could talk, so I'm going, well, I need to do a needs analysis and all that. And just thinking numbers now, so I'm going, right, so I know it'll be a minimum of 1 day a week at this fee, and I want a 12-month contract. And he went, yeah, which point I should have asked for more. Got real convinced of it. I said, I'm happy to do that, Steve, but as part of that contract, I don't want you to approach any of our rivals for 6 months. And that was the big convincer, because I thought, if you say that, you didn't think, whatever this thing. So that's how I got started.
Right.
And then what happened was, and again, this is before the mighty power of, you know, the internet and Facebook and all this.
So this would be when? About mid-90s?
So this would be 1994 business. And I'd worked in advertising 15 years by that time, so I'd had that career. What I'd not realised, and this is true for speakers or any business, is the power of referral. Mm-hmm. So I did that 6 months, that was great, just about enough. Oh, by the way, I was so excited with this idea. The first I didn't was my wife Candy. So remember, sat at home, she was a full-time mum.
Right.
So she'd been a mum, full-time mum for 4 years. So I've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old and all this stuff to pay for. And he said, yeah, I'll do a deal. So I've resigned that day, basically.
Right.
So in Candy, really exciting news, I'm leaving. What the hell, right? So anyway, she was okay.
Knowing
cool
Candy,
with
I
it.
don't think that's actually what she said.
Yeah. Possibly more colourful. Thought was massive in all this. So she believed in it too.
Right.
Because as soon as I told you, yeah, I can see that working. Anyway, the power of referral, after the 6 months bought me that bit of breathing space, meant I could generate my own material, because I thought, yeah, I can go the franchise route, which a lot of and then what you pay them. Or I thought, no, I've got some ideas about how I can take a lot of this sort of generic material, and also how to get that edge. So I got 6 months to do that. So now I had a lot of products. And the agencies, it's a small world. It's very much, you know, in the UK, certainly London. And then the big. And it's a bit like football. There's like different leagues. But I knew a lot of these movers and shakers. So I had guys who I'd employed as a student who are now big in London. So I could ring them and tell them what I was doing. It was all bespoke, tailor-made, come in, right, workshops, whatever. So I did that. Even a year of doing that, I started getting this. This is fantastic. Maybe less. Can I refer to our clients?
Right.
So all these great blue chip agencies, blue chip clients, and it's a done deal. That's great. Right. You're gonna love it. So they're sold. So now I've got this client roster, right? And then shortly after that, so maybe I'd go see either an agency or these clients that have been referred, and they'd say, this is fantastic, and it's all bespoke, tailor-made, needs analysis. Because the thing I realised was, it's all about cultures, agencies, you know, they can't put on a training for 2 days or whatever. You have to work, you know, we'll do it at a weekend, and it needs to be a sexy venue, all these sort of cultural things that meant I could open the doors because I knew people, but understood the culture.
Right.
Anyway, but when I go see perhaps not the agencies but their clients, they'd say this is great, but don't you have a course we can send people on?
Right.
And I go, no, it's all bespoke, tailor-made,
like an open course, public training,
course, right? And I went, no, you know, and I kept hearing it. You know, people that have what they need, but also what they want.
Yep.
And I thought, better give them what they want.
Yep.
Now I didn't approach it from a professional training point of view. I thought, I've worked in the corporate world, and by the way, the move from the agency was very little away from,
right,
and a massive towards.
Okay.
There was a little away from, because agencies, you work all, it's fun, but you work silly hours,
yep.
and I had 2 small kids.
Right.
Now obviously working for yourself, that meant I could take them to school and all that other cool stuff, right?
Yep.
So there was a bit of that, you know, away from as well, which was great as part of the kind of deal. So I thought, right, so one of my core things is, because by then, by the way, I'd realised I'd done a bit of work on myself, and I'd realised I was saying yes to stuff that I didn't like.
Right.
And that was a big aha. So yes, I'd got this fully formed business plan, and by then I put some numbers around it and all that stuff. But because of the stuff I do with self-development, I understand the importance of values. So I did a bit of piece on myself about, hang on, I need to get my values aligned here, because I'm doing stuff and it's paying, but I'm not particularly enjoying it. So I was doing stuff like, you know, how to do key result areas and performance standards and all this, and going, I don't really like, I'm good at it, and time management stuff, all sorts of topics that but I thought, what am I really passionate about? And it was the self-development, really. Right. So I thought, well, if I'm going to if they want a course, so the thought I had was, the question I asked was, if I was going on the course, what would I like? A day long. What kind of course would I like it to be? Everything I've learned about self-development that works with like a Yorkshire twang to it, really. Right. And then the other question was, and then you start getting practical, well, what would the venue be? Well, I don't want to be in a hotel. What am I going to be talking about? What are going to be the key topics? Vision was a big part of it, because I'd gone through that myself.
Right.
So I had a story to tell. Vision, values, right? So again, understand the power of metaphor. So right, well, it's like a journey, innit? So I got thinking like forms of transport. And I thought, you know, I'm of a generation, and you'll remember this is one for the youngsters, Cliff Richard's Summer Holiday.
On a bus?
Yeah.
A London bus?
Well, not necessarily a London one, because we were in Leeds, right?
Oh,
but certainly
Cliff Richards was London.
Now, those of you who understand goal setting and the mighty power of the reticular activating system and all that, right? As soon as you go forms of transport, you suddenly go, who's one of our clients? Wallace Arnold, who were a big coach firm, tourist firm at the time.
I've seen their buses.
Yeah. And I'd done some work with the MD, right? So I rang him up, I said, a bit of a funny question, right? What's that, Steve? You don't have, or could you make, you know, right. Preferably you've already got one, because I was making serious money to that level. Do you have like a double-decker bus that we could use for a seminar? Yeah, we've got a tailor-made one. We use it for events. Well, how does it work? Well, the whole side opens up, right? And you can put tables on the lawn, and can I come and look at it? And it was a bit like Cliff Richard's bus, right? It was fantastic. I thought that's brilliant, because we can have like a kind of magical mystery tour. So we say to delegates, I think you could get about 25 people on this, so the numbers would work. So we could not tell them even where they're going. So because the whole point about the metaphor was, a lot of people don't know where they're going. That's the whole thing about vision, isn't it? You're on this journey, and it's. But we thought we want to run it once a month throughout the year, and then when we started thinking practicality, saying, well, that's great in the height of summer, but if it's actually chucking it down, you can't really do it on the lawn. So we kind of got a bit disappointed, and then by now I had some friends who were working with me. And again, from a values point of view, they were friends first, but people decided the guy's good. He's actually a professional artist, painter, but he's great with video and stuff, right, and stuff like. So he was helping out. So we're having a bit of a brainstorming meeting, and he went, "Well, what about other forms of transport?" I went, boats. Now, Leeds, in case you don't know, is right in the centre of the UK.
Yep.
Right, so it's Leeds. I went, hang on a minute, canals.
Yep.
So canals. Victoria's where I county, but there's an amazing canal, and particularly in the north of England. So I thought, right, okay, so we'll go down to the Granary Wharf in Leeds, and there's a boat there, the Kirkstone Flyer, and there's a guy on it, it actually in like the seaman's jacket. I think it might have even had the little French cap on, you know. And he had the neckerchief as well. And his big thing was, just as an aside, he didn't wear a watch. You could just tell the time because he was out on the canal side. And it said, you know, available for hire for parties or whatever. And I said to him, oh, available for hire. So yeah, he said, it goes out every evening. I said, well, what does it do during the day? He said, just sits here.
Great.
So I did a deal with him. So the very first one we did, all I did was I did 6 hours of the stuff I loved from a totally personal perspective. So we're on a boat, we scratted around, it was family, friends, it was in January, this is I think January 1995, so I've been in business a year. One day workshop on a canal boat. Now I didn't know about NLP at the time, more about that later, but what I now realise of course was people were in the most brilliant learning state.
Right.
Because if you take people in a hotel, a lot of people are back at school.
Yep.
Right, and they have that association, so you have to work a bit harder to get them in the great state, right, which I know you do. Canal boat, the vast majority of people, in fact everybody, just associate with pleasure, right? So they're in a trance state immediately.
Right.
And in fact they're staring out the windows even better from my point
All
of
the
view.
stuff moving down
All
the sides
that.
slowly.
And of course
all
it's
that
a
kind of
brilliant method. On day one I decided, because I negotiated the thing, that we'd go from Leeds to a place called Thwaites Mills, where at lunchtime and they could provide lunch on board and all this, right? And if the weather's not great, it doesn't matter and stuff, and there's toilets then, there's a toilet on the boat and stuff, and boat can do catering. But I'd already decided that I knew people would say where we're going, and because my metaphor was most people don't know, I thought, well, tell them.
Yeah.
So people come on the boat and they say, are we actually going to sail? And I go, yeah. And of course invariably they'd all go, because they'd be coming on one at a time, thanks for coming, you know. And we called it the New Way Thinking Workshop, we called it.
Right.
And they said, where we're going? And I said, I've no idea. And then we set sailing, right? And then when we got to Thwaites Mills, I said, I actually knew, but most people don't. And then the metaphor worked perfectly. So great for learning state, great for metaphors, right? So like the engine on your boat. So first one, January in Leeds, it's snowing. Now you know this about Brits, particularly in the north, the old Dunkirk spirit. So it actually made
Doesn't matter.
They still had the fairy lights on from Christmas, which added to the whole vibe. People would literally get on the boat with piles of snow on their head, you know. We had to get some heaters out. I'm doing the present. It's a real narrow, it's a narrow boat because it's a canal. So I'm doing the presenting from the front of the boat, facing that way. Everybody's looking that way. There were occasions on that first day I thought I was being truly awesome, because I know I was good, because I had a belief I was quite good, because I'd been doing it a year, and I biggest audience perhaps I spoke to then 20, 30 people, so this is about the same sort of size, but it's on a boat. So I faced that way, and I thought, oh God, this bit's going really well because people are like this. Then afterwards I said, yeah, do you like it? No, it's just that when you were talking there was a boat coming the other way and we thought they're going to crash into it, right? And so I learned very, very quickly. One of the things I learned was, and now I know about NLP, and I put that in once I'd worked with you, you know, thinking about what could happen and kind of framing it out. Because what typically happened there was a lot of banging into the side of the canal went on, which just added to it. So now I know about this thing called utilisation, you know, back then. So get that in hotels, you know, this is great, right? But in the early days, you know, we banged the side of the canal and people thought we were sinking. So I started to put a frame in at the beginning saying, now I can guarantee 3 things are going to happen today. First thing I can guarantee is what you think it takes to be successful in life, work and everything is going to be challenged. The second thing I guarantee that's going to happen is what you think it takes to be successful in life, work and everything is going to be reinforced. And the third thing I can guarantee that's going to happen is at some point today we're going to bang into the side of the canal and all the stuff's going to fall on the floor.
Right.
But I think it's worth putting up the last thing for the first 2.
Yep.
So at the very end of the very first workshop, I'd done the big thing about goal setting, and you need a massive reason why. Now, if you think about what I've told you so far, what drove all that was a massive reason why. Right. And then yes, I had some whens and I had some hows around it. So at the end of it, I banged on and on about goal setting and saying, as long as you've got a massive reason why, if there's something you haven't achieved yet, it's because you probably just didn't have a big enough reason why. You've got to get the why, and you've got to get a when, and if you've got some how's, that great. But if you've got a massive why and a when, the how will find you, right?
Yep.
So you know that phrase, hoisted by your own petard?
Okay, I have now.
Yes. I don't know if you know the origin for it. So,
I have to say
so this was when they were sieging of castles. somebody got volunteered, the person who had to go take the bomb to blow up the castle doors with the fuse on.
Right.
And they had to get the fuse just the right length so that they could light it and get away. Times, and I think the bomb might have been called the petard or the
Right.
was called the petard. And so sometimes they get it wrong, so they blow themselves up so they would be hoisted.
Right.
So there's a bit of free information.
There you go.
Anyway, it was hoisted by my petard because one of the delegates said, when is part 2?
Right.
And I went, I've just given you 6 hours of the best stuff I've learned in the last, whatever it was, 5 years, you know, I've no more kind of thing. And they went, hang on, you said, if you've got a big reason why, but when, have you got a big reason why to do it? Think about it.
Right.
I don't know what is now part 1. And I'm going, in my head, I'm going to do 10 books a year, that's 20 hours. We could maybe do an event for 200 people. I said, right, get your diaries. This is January. We're going to do a part 2 in December.
Right.
Get your diary, December 6th. I think it was a Friday or a Thursday, December. So we've now got a date. What we haven't got is a venue because we can't do it on the boat. And we haven't got any content.
Right.
And then I left it alone because I was busy. So I think the 3rd or 4th boat we did, I get a call from the boatman with the berry and stuff saying, Steve, bit of a, you know, you've got your boat on Friday. And I went, yeah. And it was sold out back then, right? Because we got the referral thing. Because once people had experienced it, people went, this is just great, right? Love the material, love just the venue. It's just so great, regardless of the weather. There's a problem about your boat on Friday. So what's that? It's been requisitioned. And I'm going, what does that mean? It's been requisitioned. It's been taken over by British Waterways. They've taken, you know, like in Dunkirk kind of thing. Like
Right.
we need your boat.
We need your
and
boat.
we're having
You've got
it.
no choice.
And legally, we can take it. And I said, well, by who? He said, the Queen. The secretary went, yes. I went, because it sounds like the best excuse ever, you know, like is the engine not working or something. And he went, no, you know, you are. I've read a bit about it. Well, she's opening it.
Right.
And it's right on the side of the canal. And they've got a bit of a worry about terrorists and IRA and stuff. So they'll think the safest way to get her from where. So they won't go. I'm like, right. Now, because my background was advertising, I've always been quite good at marketing. I thought, well, if we can't do it, it's a brilliant PR opportunity. So I got onto the Evening Post and said, you know, Leeds trainer at running his new way of thinking workshop as boat acquisition by the Queen. Why can't he help her with her thinking and do the workshops we sail across, right? So I got some PR. Anyway, turned out they didn't need the boat, but then I thought, Royal Marines Museum, that could be a good venue for the part 2.
Right.
You know, we need like a theatre or something, and surely they thought to build some things, you know, because they're not going to survive just on people going around museum. So I ring up Royal Armies, which won't even open, right? You don't happen to have like a purpose-built room, do you, where we can run a big seminar? We've got something better than that. We've got like a traditional-looking theatre,
Right.
with a balcony. And I went, that sounds
Like
good.
the old music hall kind of style.
Almost,
Right.
yeah, because it's in a museum. It's got like 2 levels. It's got 2 floors. So it's got like, you know, the gods kind of thing.
Right.
And it's in the right exhibits and stuff. Sounds good. Because I'm thinking, people who've done part 1, so have done the boat, I think it's got to be as exciting or different. I'm thinking, well, it fits that because it's a museum. So they were taking all this art, you know, out of the they were putting in the north of England. So I thought, that sounds great. How many people does it say? Oh, about 250. Great. Is it free on December, whatever it was? Yes, it is. How much is it? Well, now, but for me, it was a chunk of money. Can I book it? Yeah, 10% up front. So a few months out, we now have a venue.
Yep.
We have the big reason why, we have a date. What we don't have is any content.
Right.
Because I've blown everything I've loved in personal development, I've blown in that first workshop, so I ain't content. So the mighty power of the Raz, right, need content. Leaflets on just stuff everywhere, research. Oh, there's this thing, performance partnership, right?
Yeah.
So that'd been 1996. First training I did with you.
Practitioner, wasn't it?
Practitioner I did, yeah. I'm not even might have been, and I did that as well, but anyway, nice.
Too much, it was a little bit.
Anyway, practitioner, and I remember you sent me my cassettes.
Yeah.
So this will date for the youngsters, my cassettes, which is a joy, because you had to listen to them, well, you have to, you wanted to listen to them 3 times,
Yeah.
finding where you were, that was great.
Yeah.
Did all that, right, did the training with you, added loads more content. Now one of the things on that, and this was Tad James, who was coaching, training with it at the time, hello Tad, and on there, it was audio cassette, right?
Yeah.
Tad was doing board breaking.
But all you could hear was the.
Yeah, and I think he was using the music from Rocky, if I'm not mistaken. In fact, he was using the theme tune from Rocky.
Yeah.
Do, 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 do. Anyway,
Yeah.
so all I've got, so we're talking about strategies and stuff today, aren't we?
Yeah.
So all I've got is the audio strategy, which is only a big, small part of it. I haven't even got
Can't even see it or anything.
Yeah. So I did loads of experimentations. Thank God I got the right kind of pine, right?
Yep.
So we actually just developed the strategy ourselves, obviously with Tad's help, thanks Tad, but only the audio part. And we taught ourselves how to do board breaking. So I thought that's going to be great content. So I set the goal that we'd get 200 people, and before the first coffee break we'd get them all to break a bit of wood, even though we'd never done it in front of an audience ever before.
Yeah, been there.
Right? Well, we all have, haven't we, right? So I thought that's exciting. And I've got some other content and stuff. So quite a big chunk of NLP, but some new stuff. The challenge, however, started to come because people started to say, because I was going, we need 200, because I had a break-even pit. I think we needed 30 to just break even, or maybe a tad more, because we wanted to throw some serious money, and now we've got to buy a load of wood and most of the things, right? And I needed a bigger team around it, because you got, name badges, you got all that. So a much bigger thing, big step up. So people are going, I just can't make that day. Because obviously when you do them once a month, and you'll know this with training, it's a one-off event. That's always, it's not that people don't want to come, they just can't make that bet. Or I was going to come.
Somebody's already booked in or whatever it may be.
So it very quickly emerged 2 months out that we weren't going to make the numbers.
Right.
So I thought, right, gonna have to throw some marketing at this, because I thought we could do it all through referral.
Right.
But I was still really, really keen to do it, because when part of your brain's going, something big's going to come of this, and I'm not sure what it is, but it's a massive step up. Now remember, the biggest audience I've spoken to, it's going to be 200 plus. Proper stage. It's like a whole new world. So when you're in naive, you think, right, I need to throw money at it. I know about marketing. We'll do. Now again, for the youngsters, this is where you send things through people's letterboxes. So you need to buy lists of people. Where do you get them and all this, right?
All printed.
Now, when I worked in advertising as a copywriter, stroke creative director, clients would often say, you'd show them a bit of work and they'd go, spending your own money on this, would you spend it on this ad? And you'd always go, yeah. Now when it is your own, so I reckoned I needed $5,000 for the marketing. And I'm thinking we need and all this, right? Very cautious, conservative, right? Money, you start a business, you want some money, and you're naive. Where do you go for the money? The bank.
Yeah.
So off I trotted to Lloyds Bank with this proposal, right? Who I've been banking with since I was a student, because nobody ever changes banks, do they? Right? I've got the bank manager. And the business, we're only 2 years in the business, and the numbers were okay, they weren't spectacular, right? I thought they were okay to justify this. And I wanted to borrow $5,000. And I said, I want to do this, and I explained, we're doing this big event at the Royal Armouries, and we're going to get a load of new clients because we're going to buy lists, and I only did 1% return, and they went, because you haven't got enough security, because I've got a big mortgage, whatever. It sounds great, and I think it'd be great for the business, but I think you should wait till next year. And it really infuriated me. I was angry, and I actually got up in anger, I think, and got to the door. I was opening the door, and he went, so you're still going to do it? And I went, yeah. Thinking, how the fuck am I going to do it? Pardon my French, I'm going to do it, right? That was, I think, on the Wednesday. On the Friday, a guy who come on, I think, the February workshop, a guy called Charles Spencer, hello Charles, multi-millionaire, who owned, as a hobby, a mushroom farm.
Oh, right, mushroom.
Yes, he showed me around his mushroom farm, and it is true about mushrooms. Don't do that guy in the dark and involving things.
Yeah.
So he invited me to his wife's birthday party in what they call Harrogate, but I call Harrogate. And me and Candy, my wife, not a real name, when I took 4 tins of lagers, I think, cheap brand, might have been an old label brand. I get to just this massive mansion with a big drive up the drive, electric gate, guy meets us at the door in a full weight outfit. There's a guy playing the grand piano in reception. There's a guy serving champagne, so I just put the 4 tins of beer under the piano. We go into the garden and built a fully working Chinese restaurant with a big long bar. His wife's there in the Japanese outfit. He's at the other end of the bar. I go, oh, this is amazing, right? And he's looking really miserable. So what's wrong?
It's kind of your fault. And what's that? He said, well, I came on your workshop and you were banging on about thinking big and not worrying about that. And I thought, I want 2 more mushroom farms, right? Bugger just having 1 plate. I want 2. And I've been in the city yesterday and I'm trying to borrow like £500,000 and I'm getting nowhere. And I said, tell me about it. I said, I'm just trying to borrow 5 grand. And he went, it's just some notes, I'll get my checkbook.
Right, there you go.
And I went, well, look, don't we need to write a contract? Because for him, but
Right,
for me, it was,
right.
and I said, no. And he said, well, if you want, I said, I just trust you, I know you'll pay me back. You've already paid me back because I'm going to get those 2 mushroom farms, right?
Right.
So we got the money. So, to complete the story, I know it's been quite long, but I think there's some key bits in this. Just before the workshop, somebody else I knew rang me up and said, do you have like a guest list, like a freebie guest list? And that wasn't even on my, for movers and shakers, like when you try to get into a nightclub kind of thing,
Yep.
VIP. And I went, no, but we could have why? He said, well, there's this young guy, he's really young, called Brendan Barnes. And he's literally just started this speaker bureau. And I'm going, a what? He said, a speaker bureau, like an agent. He said, I've booked speakers through it. He said, he's given me quite a few speakers. But it's brand new. And he's called it Speakers for Business because his vision is, he wants speakers that aren't famous necessarily.
Right, okay.
But are brilliant speakers.
Yep.
And have great content. Because everybody else is booking famous speakers. So the model is...
Athletes.
So Crown Mac ever, or business people. So either getting, most people when they were booking, and I know I've been working with Brendan for many, many years, but back then, typically a client would go, we've got an event, somebody, TV sports person, or get a business person. Now the sports people are doing a lot. Business people, they're a business but typically not good speakers.
Yeah.
So his vision one, which is why I call it Speakers for Business. Right. So he's looking for speakers to fit that mould. So he said, put him on your guest list. I've bang one about you. He'll come up to Leeds. So I did. So it's the day of the event, right? We were just short of 2. It's the theatre. I'm using probably a mic, perhaps the first. Well, so first and second time. I've made a commitment that we're going to break over to up to 2. First coffee break.
Right.
Which we did.
Right.
We didn't use the music from Rocky, we used the music from Mission Impossible. I didn't do it in the very safe way on blocks, which is how you do it, and Tad did it. I thought it's more spectacular to hold it.
Yeah.
Some big lessons there over the years. So Brendan wasn't even on mine, and I didn't know he was there.
Right.
At lunchtime, there's a queue of people, so it's going, Rick, I've got, can you sign the wood? And so I think that's the first time I ever signed my autograph. Right? Sign me wood, right? And because the whole idea, if you don't know about board breaking, it's a brilliant bit of theatre, and there's loads of cool things because you can put your limited belief on it and break through, or you can put your vision on it or whatever. And so I not thought about the signing, it was a cool thing, and it came from that, and then people got in the office, but it was names on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, root advertising. Anyway, so this really exciting, fresh face young guy's going, oh, brilliant, oh, I'm Brendan Barnes, and I'm like, who? From Speakers for Business. Oh, right, I came up from London, got the really early train, can I be your agent? And I'm like, well, how would that work? Well, how that would work is, like in show business, are you familiar? I said, sort of. He said, well, I do all the marketing, right? I set all the fees. You pay me commission. All you have to do is turn up and talk for 45 minutes.
Nice deal.
Now, understanding values, I thought, do I like him? So I didn't commit immediately. So, well, we need can get on because you will be representing me. Because by then, by the way, I had done, to be fair, I had done a few speaking events.
Right.
Because of the training thing, a lot of clients say, "Oh, can you come and I can't, I don't want a workshop, but could you come and do 45 minutes?"
Right.
And one of the things I really realised early days was it's very difficult when you're the product.
Yeah.
So the challenge as a speaker is you have to kind of be a bit schizoid. You have to have a massive ego as well.
Yep.
Because you're selling yourself.
Yep.
But that's still quite difficult. So some of the phone calls that I got before I had an agent would go like this. Ding ding. First of all, the maze that you're answering for, which you don't really, but there's just me and the dog, right? So I didn't think about that. So I'm asking, is that you? Yeah. I was in the pub and I met this guy whose cousin was this thing that you were speaking at, and they said you were great. Chat. Now, not there because I've got a lot of speaker friends. That's really important. Your peer group and stuff, and learning from others. And the speaker friend taught me to say to them early on, "That's fantastic. Have you ever had a speaker before?" Right? Which is a really important question. So I used to got into the habit even before I started working with Brendan of asking that question. So at some point in the conversation, I said, "Fantastic. Is this an annual event or is it the first time? Have you had a speaker before?" And they'd either go yes, and they'd go, and I'd go, "Who do you have?" And by then I'd started to research speakers, right? So who do you have? And they said so, and I had, because you can look, by then the web was pretty active, you had a sense of the face, so you had a bit of a benchmark, right? So we had so-and-so, alright, so, or quite often I go, "We've never had a speaker before," but it's got really boring, death by PowerPoint, right? So now they've not a clue. Yeah. They think it's going to be 50 quid or 5 grand, whatever. But invariably it comes to them, so how much is it? And especially if there's one of those people who've never had a speaker before, I go, "It's whatever, it's 3 grand, what's that?" It'd be a massive deposit, how much? And then they go, and somebody else told me this as a gag, they go, "God, that's a lot, is that negotiable?" And I go, "Yeah, oh, absolutely, but only upwards."
Yeah.
Because one of the things I learned early on is, well, if it's that price, why would something be cheaper? Because often people would say, "Well, it's only down the road." And of course the answer to that is, "Well, it was in a wire." You're not paying me for my time, you're paying for me how good I am and my content, right? Yeah. But it was still always a bit of a challenge. So anyway, so I started to work with Brendan, and that basically meant he'd go, "What are you doing on Wednesday? Can you go to New York?" Right? And that's when I discovered, boy, I love training, but boy, did I love being in front of a big audience.
Transition, I hadn't realised that you started out in training and then transitioned to speaking.
And there was a real learning curve between the difference, and we talked a lot, and in fact we're doing some work on this today, aren't we? A bit later, just between the trainer and the speaker. And that's a big distinction, and it took me a while to learn that because I was probably still quite a big trainer when I was speaking in the early days, but probably quite a gifted speaker as well. And over the years I've worked much more on the speaker side because I think that's a different skill set and all sorts of different beliefs and all sorts of things. So that happened, and then maybe the final part of the jigsaw and all of that, because of the material I was covering, it's all about personal development. I'm a big believer is if it don't work for you, then you should be telling other people about it, right? So you can work on yourself first at personal development, right? And one of the things I thought about was that I was poor at was having a really good kind of if you like, mission statement or what I was truly about when people asked me what I did. So in those very early days, having Brendan, so I'm still doing probably 80% training, 20% speaking, something like that. And in those days, you'd meet somebody, go to a meeting or maybe in a pub or whatever, and they'd say, "What do you do?" And I'd say something like, "Well, I do a few things. I do a bit of training, I do a bit of speaking, do a bit of consultancy." And I realised after a bit, that's a really crap answer to that.
Right.
Because not so much to them, but I'm hearing it. Mm-hmm. So knowing what I know, I thought, no, what should I be saying that's aspirational, not necessarily true, but I want it to be true, to create that gap, right, as short as possible. So I thought, what I'm going to start saying, anytime they ask me, because I really wanted to focus on the speaking, not so much the training, I wanted to move more into that, I wanted it to be 80% speaking, 20% training. Because I love the training, because with the training I love the coaching side of that, it's a difference, and I love seeing other people develop, so I didn't want to not do that, just wanted to change the balance.
So that was part of a business decision. So I thought, what should I start saying to people? So with confidence, because it's all about we say stuff, not just say. I thought from tomorrow, anytime anybody asks me, whoever they are, it's socially or professionally, I used to say, what do you do? And I'd say, I'm one of the top 10 motivational speakers in the UK.
Right.
And I just started saying that, and that's all I said. Right? And part of my brain screaming, you know, are you? Right? So two things happened as a result of doing that. I was hearing it all the time.
Right.
And knowing what I now know about NLP, you'll understand why that's a really powerful thing to do. But it does create dissonance. So, so you've got the whole kind of unconscious part of your mind working busy on that. But then the conscious part's going, better do some research. So what I did was, and this would be 97, 98, something like that. I thought, well, then, who are the top 10 speakers in the UK? And I did a load of research. Mm-hmm. And I set a goal. I had a big reason why, because if I'm going to say I'm one of the top 10, yes, I believe that I could be, but there will come a point where I probably have to prove it. However, even in the early days when I'm being interviewed by the media, because I was getting a lot of media coverage because of the Royal Arm race, because we're inviting journalists to it. So you get a journalist to do the ball break. I'm on the local news. You get on the live TV, gets to do the ball break. Right? So I'm on live TV, and even before I could 100% prove that I was, which I did become one of the top 10 motivation speakers in the UK, nobody ever questioned it.
Right.
I mean, I'm not questioning it, but so I'm on live TV, and they're going, what is you should do a local, this is like a local TV station, local guy, unusually a Yorkshire motivational speaker, that become part of the brand, because I was, right there on, the American style didn't work for a lot of people,
right. Yeah.
So I found a really good niche over time, so it was that kind of, tell it like it is, Yorkshire thing, and I deliberately started to turn the Yorkshire up to 11.
Right.
Like a bigger version of myself. Because all the research said, the call centres, the most trusted accents, Yorkshire, right? So trade on it, it's a gift, use it, right? But even in those early days, when they'd introduced me, or at a live event, my introduction, one of the top 10 motivational speakers in the UK, nobody ever said who said so.
Right.
Nobody ever said that. But I thought I've got to get to the point where I can, if somebody ever did say that. So I did some rational research. I identified them, did loads of research on them, unbeknown to them, figured out what the fees were.
Right.
Because again, getting that wealth mindset, like I need to start believing not only am I one of the top 10 speakers, but I'm worth what they're worth. Then I set a goal, and I had no idea how I'd achieve this, that I would be on the same stage with at least half of them,
right,
and blow them out of the water. Now, I won't name who it was, but through a set of ridiculous circumstances, I found myself at the same event with the person who was top of that list.
Number one.
At the time, who was making serious money and was a brilliant speaker. And it taught me a massive lesson, apart from everything we're talking about. He was on the evening before, it was a big 3-day event. He was on in the evening, I was in his session, I was on the following morning. So I kind of shared the stage with him, but that'd do for me, right?
Yeah.
Now, I wouldn't say he was complacent, but he'd been doing that job, if you want to call it that, for maybe 10 years. And I'd seen him 2 or 3 times, because I'd made a point of going and seeing these people live, and now knowing what we know, modelling them, I didn't know it was that. And by the way, not nicking their stuff, because that would be totally wrong, but going, what are they doing that makes them so good, right? And how are they doing it? And also seeing some crap speakers, by the way, which is also just as useful, right? And also being invited to speak at events and seeing some really bad speakers from clients, typically, and getting lots of learning there. So he's on the night before, I'm funny, and he was, I don't think he was deliberately complacent, but he was just doing what he did, he wasn't like really going for it. Do you think I was really going for it?
Yeah.
Now, if I say so myself, I was bloody brilliant. I was just awesome. Even, sometimes when you're just in a state of flow, but you have a moment going, I'm killing this, right? So the feedback was better feedback, right? So now I could with genuine intent say I can prove
I'm got better feedback than the number one.
Yeah. So then we did. So maybe about 6 months after that, my agent Brendan says I'm doing a speakers showcase, right? Now, what Speaker Showcase is, here's a reference for the people in the north of England. If you've ever seen Phoenix Nights with Peter Kane and Working Men's Club, when they decide which acts they're going to have for that season, they do an audition and they get the committee and they go, give us 10 minutes of what you do, juggling poodles, whatever, right? Well, the Speaker Showcase is like the same sort of model. You get half a dozen speakers, you get 10 minutes each, and the audience is just full of people who book speakers.
Yeah, nice.
So although nobody admits it's a bit of a tough gig, because the audience typically give you very little, because I think if they let on in the room that they like you, your fees are going to go up.
Yeah.
And although the speakers that I meet, you're in competition with each other.
Yeah.
So one of the speakers that day was Sir Ken Robinson. And that's the first time I met Ken, right? Ken, to this day, is the most viewed clip on TED Talks, I'm sure most of you are familiar with, right? Even then, awesome speaker. I'm on after Ken, don't follow the Beatles, right? Get all the feedback. I just get nudged out by Ken in terms of feedback from the audience, right?
Right.
Now that's before he became as big as he was, right? So afterwards, I thought that's good. I don't mind coming second to Ken. It's quite nice to have somebody, which is why I always work with you, because every time I say, oh, you've got even better, and I think, bugger, right? I'll have to hang on to his coattails. That's about such a joy, and I think that's so important to have that person that you aspire to be, right? So I didn't mind that. However, a bit later, I'm doing a gig in Europe. So doing a lot by now, we're doing stuff all over the place. No, not England, no, in UK. This is what happened. So I'm doing this gig, and Brendan rings me up and says, Steve, you know that? Because I told Brendan, by the way, I'm telling people, just so you know, because it needs to be in your marketing, I'm one of the top 10 motivation speakers in the UK. And even he went, yeah, I'll start saying that as well.
Right.
Because obviously it's in his interest, it's in his interest. And he believed it, we both knew we had to perhaps prove it a bit more. So I rang him and then we'd had that speaker showcase and he said, Steve, you've got to stop saying you're one of the top 10 speakers in the UK. And I went, but I really don't understand why that really worked for me. And yeah, he said, no, you've got to say you're one of the top 10 motivation speakers in Europe.
Right.
And guess what happens as we start saying that? Couldn't move for gigs in Europe.
Right.
Rome, Berlin, Paris, right? But just complete that. When you do an engagement, typically you have to send off your bio and, our guest speaker, his photograph and all that. And you make the check-in, and one came through, and I got to the event, and I'm just going through it. You're not going to read your own stuff, but I just have this time looking at it, I'm going through it, and it goes, we've got our guest speaker today, Steve McDermott, advertising, whatever, this, that, the one of the top 10 motivation speakers in the world.
All right. There we go.
There we go.
I was going to say, when does it become the world?
So that is very long, but that's
Really, I mean, there's lots of,
Cool.
so that's how it happened.